All right, we are on to our fourth and final government type. So, this type of government is called a theocracy. And I always remember theocracy, I think of rule by religion. And I think of this T as being a cross. And when I think of a cross, I think of religion. So we will talk more about theocracy in our live classes on Thursday and Friday. But this video is to help you understand the government before that, should you choose to work on your weekly assignments at home on your off days, on your online days. So in most countries, people follow a set of rules. These are called secular laws. A secular law is a law created by the government that the people must follow. People might also follow another set of rules. They may or may not. And these may be religious laws. So, laws preached to people by their religious leaders. In the United States of America, that's completely optional. We have freedom of religion. So, some people follow religious laws, some don't. But everyone that lives in our country has to follow secular laws. Sometimes these rules overlap. For example, it's wrong to steal. That's a law in all religions, and it's also a law in countries and in local governments. Sometimes they don't overlap. For example, some religions don't eat meat on certain days, whereas any country that I know of, for example, their laws don't have laws about eating meat. If you try to turn yourself in for the second law about eating meat, the police would probably be confused. So what is a theocracy? And what does that have to do with the laws that we just went over? A theocracy is a system of government in which the ruler of the country is believed to make decisions for the country based on the messages or guidance that is received from God or a god. In a pure theocracy, the leader performs roles both as leader of the government and as a religious leader for the citizens of the country. In a theocracy, the religious laws, the religious codes, and the laws of the country, at the very beginning of the video, I called those secular laws, are one and the same. So the laws dictated by the religion based on its holy book are the laws of the land, period. So they're not separated. In the United States of America, religion and government law, those are separate. In a theocracy, they're the same. In ancient civilizations, we will talk more about ancient civilizations later on this year, theocracies were very common. In ancient Egypt, the pharaoh was considered a king, a priest, and a god. The Maya, Inca, and Aztec civilizations that you learned about in fifth grade, those also functioned as theocracies. Their leaders were believed to have been chosen and guided by their gods, and those leaders were spiritual leaders as well as leaders that made decisions about governing their empires and cities. So the right to rule in a theocracy belongs to the leader who's known as a theocrat. A theocrat could go by many different names, but what makes this person unique is how they attain their leadership, meaning how they get it. In this type of government, the leader is believed to get power directly from a god or the gods. The decisions of that ruler are believed to be inspired by God or gods. Some inherit their power, so it might have characteristics of a monarchy. Some are chosen by a small group of important leaders. Some may even be elected in a general election of the citizens. However they come to power, though, this is the highlighted part of your screen, it is believed by the citizens of the country that the selection of that leader happened divinely or through the power of a god. A theocrat maintains they keep their power because of that divine rule. The people of a theocracy believe their leader was chosen and is guided by a god or by the gods. Therefore, it is also each citizen's religious duty to do as that leader directs. Even very cruel or harsh leaders remain in power because the people believe it is the will of their god or gods. Disobeying the leader may have serious consequences for these people believe, not only in the present, but also after death and in an afterlife. So who controls the powers of the government? Since a theocracy is ruled by divine power, the leaders control the power of government. Depending on the country, the leader may rule solely or with the help of others. Citizens are guaranteed very few rights under religious law. They must follow the demands and rulings of the leaders. There may be some voting for offices. However, most times the voting is regulated, manipulated, and controlled. Similar to a dictatorship, participation is typically accepted when in favor of leadership. Citizens are expected to have strict obedience to religious leaders and laws, but they also must follow civic laws, the laws of the country. Like all the other governments we've studied, they must serve in the military when expected, pay taxes, and when allowed, be an informed voter. Just remember, just because a country has an official religion does not make it a theocracy. Theocracies usually have a strict interpretation of their holy text, and religious leaders have sole source of legal authority in all aspects of society. I should also add to that, typically a theocracy is generally unlimited, an unlimited form of government. Some examples of theocracies, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, ancient Egypt. And there's some information about Egypt on this slide that I won't get into right now, and we will learn more about this civilization in the future. Modern day examples include, a place called the Vatican City. The Vatican City is actually a Christian theocracy. There's not many citizens that live in the Vatican permanently, but it's believed that God is the head of state and religion, and there's someone called a pope who's the elected representative. The interpretation of the Bible is the law of the land in the Vatican City. Another modern day example of a theocracy is the country of Iran, so the Islamic Republic of Iran. And it is an Islamic theocracy that is then based on the Quran, which is the holy text in Islam, which we'll talk more about later this year. So from here, this is some of the information that you need to know on theocracy. You're also going to notice I have a website posted in the Google Classroom, just like for all of the other governments. This gets into theocracy. This has everything that you need to know. I tried to highlight important vocabulary off to the side. It's a bit shorter than the other ones, so you'll have this website to look at. And in looking at that website, you're going to complete this Google form. It's a self-checking one like you've done before. So in order to move on to the next section, you have to get the questions correct. And you're looking for words to fill in the blank. The downfall to these, spelling counts. So you have to make sure you have correct spelling, and please don't use capital letters. But to help you figure out what goes in the blank, you're going to want to look at this website. And of course, you can leave comments to me in the Google Classroom if you're having trouble with the form. But we will go over this religion again a little bit more in person this government that's uses religion in person on Thursday and Friday. In the meantime, let me know if you have any questions and emails or comments, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.